When I talk to my staff, I always talk about our role in elevating the profession, because the work that, truly, I don't believe that there is a more important, more noble profession than that of being a teacher. And so, I've chosen a career to support those that I think are the most important. It's from that profession that all of others come. And so, we are seeing just abysmal numbers of graduates who are choosing to go into the education profession. We're seeing teachers who are retiring early. They're looking for other jobs to do something else. And a lot of that comes from just the public perception. It comes from what we see from our state leaders, not prioritizing adequate school funding.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Dr. Dana Bashara. Dana is a superintendent at Alamo Heights ISD, which is in San Antonio, Texas, which is not far from Corpus, where I am right now. Dana, thank you for being here today.
It's a privilege to get to visit with you and share about the good things taking place in public schools.
Awesome. So tell me what is happening in Alamo Heights right now.
Yeah, so this year we're walking through an interesting time of challenge after we've come out of the 89th legislative session here in Texas. And so our schools have been advocating all across the state for adequate state funding. And, at this point, I don't know if we're 44th or 45th, as far as ranked, as far as dollars associated to students. And so I would just share that, we're walking through a year where we've cut $5 million from the budget. We've cut positions, we've cut programs, and it's a time, that we see increased student needs. We see needs for interventionists. We see increasing special education needs, but we're walking through that. And so I'm incredibly proud of the way that we stood up those budget cuts over the course of the entire year last year, involving many different voices in the decisions that needed to be made. We stood up a community advisory council, that helped us prioritize what's important to this community. And the community also involves the staff members in this district. And so lots of voices, were heard. So the process of articulating what was going to be cut for this year was well done. It was collaborative. It was inclusive. It was transparent. What's difficult is that we're walking through it right now, right? And so I've lost teaching assistants, lost cafeteria monitors. We've lost some programs that people are grieving that made us, set us apart. And so that's kind of overwhelming. But that's the reality of what we're walking through this year. And so alongside that, as superintendent, to me, is the priority of protecting the culture, right, through a time of challenge. And so I talk about the incredible importance in leadership about building relationships and being a people person, a people leader. It is really important to me that I protect our people, as we walk through a time of challenge, that I create what I call a learning organization, a flat organization. We kind of push back on bureaucracy. My folks have access to me when they need to have access to me. For me, it's about, growing and supporting and retaining high quality professionals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so hard, even though it's coming, it doesn't, the reality is the reality when you're in the middle of it, right? Yeah. And it's heartbreaking when you have to do these things, and it feels like you just don't have any say, even because all of it comes from above, and you're there trying to make sure and leading in a way that takes care of your people as best you can, and they almost tie your hands behind your back.
Yeah, and I would share too, Janet, that the teaching profession itself is under incredible scrutiny, right? When I talk to my staff, I always talk about our role in elevating the profession, because the work that, truly, I don't believe that there is a more important, more noble profession than that of being a teacher. And so, I've chosen a career to support those that I think are the most important. It's from that profession that all of others come. And so, we are seeing just abysmal numbers of graduates who are choosing to go into the education profession. We're seeing, teachers who are retiring early. They're looking for other jobs to do something else. And a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
comes from just the public perception. It comes from what we see from our state leaders, not prioritizing adequate school funding. It comes from uh, numerous legislative statutes that have come out of this session that are really questioning the professionalism and the judgment of educators in the profession. And so, it's to that end. It's to the end of, just elevating the profession, making sure that my people know how cherished their work is. That kind of is my mission.
Well, and it's the next generation. I mean, we are, as educators, bringing up the next generation, and public schools are the lion's share of all of that. And that's, it's heartbreaking to me that, that they just don't get it. And I see it, my biggest thing, I mean, you see it with legislators, I see it in social media, I see it on the news. Every time you turn around, someone is talking on the news about how our schools are failing, and how I even put a link out, a link on LinkedIn not long ago, just frustrated, absolutely frustrated with what they're, it was a common sense from Fox News. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? It's like you're lumping every single educator into one bucket and not looking at what is truly happening, because a couple of people did something really horrible, or the scores in that are all put into a bucket where others are not. It's mad. It really, really makes me crazy. It really does. And I don't want, I mean, that's why Brighter Together exists. We want to put out there, because there are so many people like yourself who love what they're doing. I have been a therapist for 31 years, and more than half of that time has been in education. And we're servants. We're servant leaders. That's what we do. We serve human beings. And what better thing is there to do than to serve human beings? So it's crazy. It's really
Well,
crazy.
wholeheartedly agree. And I do. I feel like it's sacred work that takes place right in our classrooms. And so
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very fortunate, Janet, to be in a community that's incredibly supportive of our educators. And so when you bring up social media, I would share our community here in Alamo Heights. It's a we're 9 square miles. Folks that graduate from this community, they want to come back and they want to raise their children here.
Mm,
I'm from Pennsylvania, but my husband is a graduate of Alamo Heights. And, early on in
nice.
meeting him, he said, this is where he would come back to raise his family. And I thought, okay, that's unique. All right.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
that was 30 years ago that I started here as a first year teacher, and have done a little bit
Wow.
of every position along the way. I've been at our middle school as an administrator. I've been principal at our elementary school. I've done human resources, communication, and then assistant superintendent for 8 years. And so um, I talk about my work being professional, but it's very personal to me. Just my husband's connection to this
Mm-hmm.
community. I have 4 children, that have gone through, 2 graduated. I have a senior and I have a 8th grade son. And so it's both professional and personal. But again, going back to the fact that this community is incredibly supportive. If you would see our social media presence, I'm proud to say that they're champions of our teachers and champions of all of our employees. Our PTOs are incredibly engaged and involved. And, it was back during COVID that the original kind of role of the PTO here was to help with fundraising and, help fill in the deficits that we were facing with the lack. But I just said to them back then, I said, I just need you to take care of our people. Like, they need to feel community love all the time. And they do an incredible job. I also would share that my first year as superintendent, I worked with our board to launch a community-based accountability system that really pushes against the state accountability system that's about one test on one day. And our
Right.
community returns to this district because we're so much more than a test score. And our kids, their
Mm-hmm.
experience is drill and kill and test prep. We expect, we high expectations for student performance and growth. But alongside that, like we prioritize belonging and wellness in our classrooms. We prioritize character education. It's important to talk about college and career readiness, to talk about community engagement, to talk about student engagement and extracurriculars and athletics. It's important to talk about financial, fiscal responsibility. All of that should be part of accountability. And again, just very proud to work with a school board that has allowed us to launch that, so that, when I get my A to F score that comes out and I drop from a 90 to an 89, the world doesn't fall apart. They're like, Dana, there's
Right,
great things taking
right.
place, in schools. And
Yeah.
so that feels really good.
Yeah. And that's the point, right? That's why I talk. That's why I bring superintendents and special education directors here, because you guys are the leaders in what is happening. You're managing the entire school, and special education directors have a special place in my heart because I'm an SLP. I that's what I do, special education and special education teachers and related services and all of those things. That's why Lighthouse Therapy exists. But it just is the work that is being done day in and day out, thanklessly, a lot of the time, it's incredible. And I love that you have that you have a community that realizes, and it's something that I think that as we as advocates for education need to make it clear that yes, there is a score, but that score is not the embodiment of what makes Alamo Heights such an incredible place to be. And that's the thing that matters the most. Yeah. So awesome. Fantastic.
There are a
And
lot of points of pride.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, the community-based accountability. I mean, academic achievement, academic progress is always, forefront, right? But to serve in a community where, it's about AP Scholar information. It's about our Iowa and COGAT achievement test. It's about, our MAP progress monitoring. It's not just about that final test at the end of the year that really doesn't help guide instruction, right? It just kind of looks back on the year. And it's an example of how a student does one day over the course of the year. And so just a lot more meaningful way to look at accountability, look at student growth and progress.
And I'll tell you, when you're an SLP and you're doing an assessment and you're talking at an IEP meeting, one of the things that we say all the time is that is how that child was performing at that time on that day. That's it. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, so if there are other things going on in their lives, if there are, they didn't get enough to eat that day, or they were up late, or pick a myriad of different things, that's who that child was that day. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only thing that we're going to see as we work with that child. That IEP is a living, breathing document that we have that helps guide us. And it is a guide. That's what it is. It's a guide so that we can help that child get free, appropriate public education, right? And that's it. That's why I get so frustrated with one score, because it's like, who else do you know? What other profession do you know where one score is the be all end all of what you do? It's crazy. It's really crazy. And I'm getting on my soapbox.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So, yeah, I know. So, what kind of advice would you give to others that are in the profession that are just feeling a little bit more beat up, feeling like, it doesn't matter what I do, nothing ever changes, that kind of that defeatist attitude. I don't see it a ton, but, or maybe somebody that loves education and wants to do and be where you are. So what kind of advice would you give to them?
Sure. So, talking to the person that is in a low place, kind of in that defeatist place, it's reminding them of the importance of the calling to this work, and whatever position that is in your system, whether that's the beginning of the year, I ride the buses with our bus drivers, and I am just blown away by their heart for kids, around their organization skills, to get kids where they need to be, their communication skills with the families that meet the students off the bus. Every single role in our organization is incredibly important to accomplishing the mission of our work, right? And so it's acknowledging that and helping that person figure out, where they sit in the system and how their work contributes, to the bigger picture, I think is important. As far as talking to a leader who would like to sit in my seat someday, to me, there is no better investment than investing yourself in the people of your organization. And so just that both recruitment and retention piece of my role is incredibly important, even though, I'm not HR. I spend time every year in what are called stay interviews, not waiting until an exit interview when someone leaves. I ask our principals to identify non-negotiable, irreplaceable teachers and staff members. And I sit down with them, with my HR director, and I ask them, what is it that makes you get up in the morning and feel excited about coming to work here? And, I ask them about who are the people that support their work the best. I have a series of questions that I go through. So first of all, for them to hear that they've been identified as an irreplaceable employee, it's emotional sometimes, for them to hear that.
Yeah,
to hear that
for
the
sure.
superintendent and the HR director are going to come and sit around a table and hear from them, because I say, your input helps me know how to best protect the culture here, right? And I talked a little bit about just people and positive culture, to me, is what it's all about. So that has served us well. We have new employees every year, and I invite them to come around the table with me 4 times a year as a group, just to have access to the superintendent and just to kind of talk about their experience. I walk them through kind of, I don't know, community nuance. Like for today, we have our Howdy Night Parade, which is a homecoming parade. So I kind of talk through with them what makes us unique, what our special language is. And so they can feel like they're part of it and not an outsider. Um, just thinking through. So I guess that's the advice. That's the answer to that question, is just thinking through ways to be present and to listen to people and to validate their voices. And a lot of time, I hear that folks will tell me, like, I feel like I'm seen in this district, Dana, and sometimes
Yeah.
district, the superintendent is so far removed from the classroom teacher, from the SLP, the bus driver, right?
Are you struggling to keep speech therapy fully staffed or tired of high turnover? You're not alone. At Lighthouse Therapy, our speech language pathologists are seasoned professionals, and most of them have over 16 years of school-based experience. They're not just qualified, they're consistent, relational, and results-driven. We offer 3 flexible delivery models: virtual therapy, hybrid therapy, and in-person therapy. It's speech therapy done right for you and your students. Learn more at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together. Yeah, from the custodian. Yeah, from the kitchen worker. Yeah, absolutely, 1000%. It's so important to know that you're seen. That's something that we strive for all the time here as well, is because every single person that works under us is the person that's making the miracle happen. Right? They're the ones that are doing the work. We are guiding and helping and managing all of that. But boy, we couldn't do it without them. That's for sure. Yeah. That's beautiful. It sounds like you have developed a very lovely place to work, and that's such a great thing. So how, you said you're 9 square miles. Tell us a little bit about the demographics of your school. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
We have 5 total campuses. We're about 4,800 kids. We have 33 different languages that are represented here through emergent bilinguals and newcomers. We have 25% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. We have got 60% of our students that are Hispanic, and 30% that are white. And people, there is a perception sometimes about Alamo Heights that we are not as diverse as we are. And, when I visit with new employees, I always want to talk to them about the fact that we have got, students who are food insecure, right? And we have students of great privilege in this district. And the job of a teacher in the classroom is to ensure that everybody's needs are met. And there are needs within students of privilege, and there are needs within students who, come to us low socioeconomic status. And so there's a real moral imperative around differentiated instruction, right? Assessing student needs and being responsive to personalizing instruction. I tell teachers a story that someone told me before, but you'll have kids in the classroom that have never been to the San Antonio Zoo. And you have kids in the classroom that over summer, they went to China and they saw the pandas. So it's just
Right.
making sure, it's important to me that our employees have the heart for all kids, right? And the
Hmm.
understanding that it's work to meet, disparities of needs like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad I asked that question because, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, there's a perception, but you just dispelled it. You just dispelled it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fantastic because people need to hear and know that, every single child matters to you and us. Every single child that walks through the doors of your schools and all of those 5,000 kids, every single one of them matter. And that is the piece that I really love that we need to get out that, it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter. We want you to be fed. We want you to be safe. We want you to learn. But we know that you need to be fed and safe and clothed and healthy and not hungry in order to learn. And you need to feel confident in yourself as well. And you guys are doing it. And I think that is kudos to you. If I wasn't doing what I would do, I would love to work under you because I know you would take care of me. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I try very hard to do the same thing here because, and I don't get to see everybody because we're a national company. So, we have therapists that are all over the United States. And, we actually have a day where we say, come and meet the CEO because I don't want them to just see me as a picture on, whatever,
Right.
because it matters that
Right.
they know who it is that, and, for us, to be a therapy company our mission is to be a therapy company run by therapists for the betterment of students. The students always, right? Always the students that for the betterment of students, but the therapists, like we talked about being the person, all of these people are required to do the job. Those therapists are the ones that are out there every single day working and
That's right.
serving those kids. And we have 2,300 kids almost right now. So it's the same thing. We're all going in the same direction, aren't we? So that's fantastic. So, Dana, where do people go if they want to learn a little bit more about Alamo Heights ISD?
Sure. We have a pretty robust website, and you can find that at www.ahisd.net. So it's Alamo Heights Independent School District, ahisd.net.
Fantastic. And I'm assuming they would be able to get a hold of you there as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My email's
Awesome.
on there. I've got
Yeah.
a superintendent page. Um, One of my joys in this job that we just uploaded to my superintendent page is my student advisory council, and meeting 4 times a year with students in 11th grade, 8th grade, 5th grade. So you just made me think about that, talking about my landing page. There's a lot on there about my priorities and my background and my heart for this work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's and I know the most amazing thing about leaders and every single person that I've interviewed on this podcast is so open to helping. So, I'm sure there'll be somebody that'll reach out and say, "Hey, I saw your podcast. Help me with this." Or can you talked about the questions that you ask. I love the stay interviews. I know I'm not saying it exactly right, but that's really an amazing thing. Keeping people, you're valued, showing people that you're valued. And I'm sure there's somebody that's probably going to say, "Hey, I would love to see those questions that you have." It's really neat. So thank
Also
you,
share, Janet.
Dana.
Absolutely. I'm gonna say
No,
one last thing
go ahead.
here. I
Yeah,
just have a
absolutely.
big heart big heart for encouraging women into leadership roles. I feel like, when we look at our administrative staff, when you look at superintendents, you don't see the representation that you see in our classrooms, where 80%, 85% are women. And so, that's a passion of mine, is encouraging and supporting, women to step up into that next role. And so I just put that out there, that if anybody needs to visit with someone about that, I've got some good pointers. And again, just a big heart for encouraging women.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. Cause there is a dichotomy there, isn't it? What? I'm sorry.
I said, I'll stop talking now. I keep adding different things in.
No, I love it. It's good. It's a good thing. You're definitely a person that has a lot to offer. And, we need more like you. We need more people that have that kind of passion and love the kids and love what they're doing and are an advocate for education and for the students that are in front of you and for the students in the United States. We have to keep putting it out there. Change doesn't come if we sit on our hands and say, "Oh, poor me, I wish it was better." It doesn't happen that way, right? It happens through conversations like this and somebody else talking, and hopefully it goes beyond that. And I'm a Christian, so I believe that God's involved as well. I don't deny or back away from that either, because it's important that people know that they're loved and that somebody cares about them. So keep up the good work. I'm going to ask you my last question. If you could miraculously solve one thing, just one thing in your world, you never had to think about it again. Can't be money. Everybody needs more money. We know that. But if you could just fix one thing, what would that one thing be?
Oh, it goes back to the elevation of the teaching profession. Like, if I could somehow wave a magic wand and teachers were thought of and considered, at the professional status of a doctor or an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what I'd do. I would wave my wand and make sure that they were recognized for the everyday superheroes that they are.
Mm-hmm. And get paid for the work that they do, truly at a level that they should be paid for. I agree with you. That's fantastic. Great answer. So, Dana, thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And thank you for taking the time to be on Brighter Together, because we're brighter together.